You're here at the Timezone Podcast.
Okay, y'all, you know what time it is. Welcome back to TimeZonePodcast. How are you lovely ladies doing today?
I'm good. A little bit tired, but I'm good.
That's good. How you doing, Ainsley? You looking fly? I see you with the little air kabajos going on. What's up?
Girl, this is me trying to cover up the fact that this wig is not glued down. It's just on my head.
What did you guys get into this weekend? How's your weekend be going? Like, what are you guys doing? Come on, ice and tea.
I went out. Party wasn't great, but another story. That's another story. But yeah.
But did you have fun?
No, because the party wasn't great. It was a waste of outfit.
Oh, sorry, Bo.
What about you, Shan?
Well, I attempted to do my nails.
Let's have a look.
No. I got to stand like here, like sit here and go like this. If you get close, you can see all the imperfections. So.
Oh God,
girl,
they look
at
good
least,
though.
yeah, at least you done something.
First attempt. So
yeah, try it again, and you be.
Yeah,
exactly. What about you, Eunice?
I had the paper to write, so shit was doing that. I went to go see my mom, and then I hung out with a friend for a couple of hours, which is a whole different story. But yeah, it was good, and I literally just stayed home. I just needed some me time.
Yeah,
it's stressful. It's stressful, bro.
This weekend was supposed to be my me time, but we'll try again, right? So
yeah, that's by God's grace. By God's grace, we have plenty of time to try.
Exactly.
All right. So, you're not new to this. We're going to kick it off with what's up with that. Did y'all see my baby Chris Brown's new video for Go Crazy with Young Thug?
I did. I loved it.
Yeah, I did.
Boy, it was fun. Boy, it's fun. I love Chris Brown. But that's not even why I'm bringing this up. So, he released the video, and a lot of people had a lot to say. Specifically women that felt like he didn't have enough melanin in the video. Oh God, I am over this, people. So I love the video. It was creative, just like Chris Brown always does. I'm confused what we're categorizing melanin as now, because I saw a bunch of Black people in that video. I mean, what did you guys see any of them, or am I just tripping?
No, there was.
Okay, so I'm not understanding what somebody commented on the video was like, "Oh, Black women should stop supporting Chris Brown." I'm confused. Why? Thank you. Why? I'm confused. Because in the first couple of shots, all I saw were Black girls. So is it because they have long weaves, so you don't know they're Black? Or is it because they're a little bit lighter? Like, I'm confused.
I think that's what's rubbing people the wrong way, to be honest with you, their complexion. Because I just don't understand. Like, why? We're all Black females, okay? And I do understand that there is colorism. But at what point do we draw the line and say, okay, guys, come on, like, you're reaching now, like, so what? So we must only have dark-skinned females in the video. And even if we did only have dark-skinned females in the video, light-skinned females would then be like, well, we're the light-skinned females. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what are we going to do? Okay, one Black, one white, one this, one that. Okay, one Black. Like, are we going to keep, like, tallying them up?
Yeah.
Even them out? Like, come on.
Yeah, I feel like you're pushing it now at this point. Like, well, imagine me saying, "Oh, and we need another dark-skinned girl in this podcast because you're a little too light." Weird. It's fucking weird. Like, weird. How you feeling about this?
It's never enough for anyone. Like, they're never satisfied. I think that's the problem. We're never. Or they're never satisfied with whatever's given.
And I think, like, at this point, like, these women that are complaining about him not having enough Black women in the video are the ones who be like, "Oh, I'm mixed with China, I'm mixed with Indian." Bitch, we don't know if you're Black either. Like, can you calm down?
I must admit, though, like, from 2000s to now, the video industry has changed a lot, and we have to like clap for them, because sometimes some people make a cautious effort to make sure they have like one dark-skinned female as their lead role. However, this was like a video with everybody in there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, everybody can get it. That was the type of feel for the video. So I just don't understand why people would be upset about it. I love the video. Keep going, Chris.
My concern is these people were not social distancing. Y'all got corona.
Girl, this is over.
I think
That's
we're
my
over
only
that. Like,
that is
over it.
legitimately that's my only concern. I don't give a shit about any other thing. Like a lot of people were having fun. Chris was looking. I'm sorry, I love me, Chris Brown.
From when I was younger, I thought I was gonna marry Chris Brown. I mean, he beat
swear.
Rihanna, and that upset me. But do you know what I mean? I feel like sometimes some people can learn and they can really grow.
Yeah.
Yes,
you know?
and I feel
so
he's paid his dues. Like, let this man live.
and
Leave him.
they're always getting on to Chris Brown. They just they need to stop it.
It doesn't matter what he does. It's just like, here he comes again. I'm just like, just leave him alone. If you don't like him, it's fine. Don't watch his videos. But I think the video was bomb. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Young Thug in it, and it's lit.
So Eunice spoke about her babes, Chris Brown. I'm going to speak about my babes, Idris.
Yes, bitch, that's what you call a segue.
Okay.
She can prepare.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about my babes, Idris Elba. So recently, an interview with Idris Elba on Radio Times, he expressed that they were removing TV programs from streaming platforms that showed racist content. He suggested that maybe we shouldn't remove them and instead have like a warning sign or a rating before you click on it to watch. So I want to know what you girls thought of that. Do you agree with him? Do you disagree?
It's a smart idea to at least have a warning, especially for children. People who are like, they don't understand what racism looks like. We need for that to be shown. So having a warning, that way if you don't want your kids to see things like that, or if you want to like warn them like this is about to be really extreme, this is what racism looks like, it's a great idea. I think taking it off completely is erasing the fact that racism happens on screen and whatever, you know. So I agree with him. That's my personal feelings towards it.
Yeah, I agree as well. I agree. I like what you said, Eunice, about erasing. You said like we shouldn't just like erase it.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the book Mice of Men?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right. So recently, it ties in with what you're talking about, Shanice. They were thinking about like redoing the book and removing the word nigger in there because obviously it comes out quite a bit. Obviously, that book is supposed to be set in a certain period of time. If you remove it, I feel like it almost makes it okay for people to say like racism didn't happen. Or it wasn't as bad as what they said. And I feel like that's why we shouldn't censor stuff, because I feel like people need to know that this is what your ancestors done, whether you accept it or not, and this is why you guys are more privileged now. Because if we remove all of those articles and movies, etc., what will happen is that eventually people will just be like, well, we've never done this to you. Do you know what I mean? And then there'll be no type of, okay, I understand that I am privileged. Like they won't understand white privilege. They won't. No
accountability.
So,
that's a great point. That's a great point. And also, if you remove it completely, future generations might never get to see that was happening. Like they will be oblivious to that even existed. So we can't erase history like that. So a warning, I agree with.
Look at the pyramids in Egypt. Till this day, we're still arguing whether they were black or white. Because why? They removed all of the noses, so that way we couldn't tell what type of features they were. Now, why would they do that if they weren't trying to cover up something? Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's what's going to happen in the future if we take away all of this content, or we take away those type of words, because then it'll be like, well, this never happened. There's no proof of it.
I agree with you guys. I definitely feel like whether we like it or not, it is part of our history. And it's not just us. It's not just our history. Whatever you've done to us, that's still part of you guys' like history. So to remove it is like to almost say like it never happened. And I feel like it's the history is for our learning. So to remove it, it's just be like it never happened when it did. So a warning before that's fine. Because everyone has the freedom to choose what they want to watch. But to remove it like it never happened. Nah,
and also like when you erase it and people think it doesn't exist, it gives them the opportunity to recreate the cycle again, because they're gonna be like, they won't know that you're really reinventing the wheel. So don't take it off screen. I'm sorry. I need people to learn.
It happened, and it is what it is. You have to deal with it. I'm sorry. I feel like it's almost because they feel ashamed. So it's like, let's just try and cover it up and act like we never, which is what Britain has done as well. Because if you think about slavery, when we're taught in school, they never speak about Britain. They just talk about America. That's what we focus on in school. We don't know about how slaves were treated in the UK, in Britain at all. Do you know what I mean? So they've been able to
clean
do
up
that.
job.
Exactly. And plus people are becoming way too sensitive. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Definitely.
Girl.
It's encouraging people to be way too sensitive.
Girl, like we as Black people have gained a thick skin. You need to learn how to gain a thick skin. I'm sorry, your ancestors did what they did. That's part of your history. Own it, learn from it, better yourself. Don't be like, oh no.
Exactly. Talk about becoming a bride for one of your lovers. What happens if you become an ISIS bride? Let's talk about Shamima Begum. I really hope I pronounced her name right. Okay, so I'm not too sure if you're familiar with the story, Eunice, so I'll just quickly update you guys.
Yeah.
In 2015, at the age of 15, Shamima Begum and her friend ran away to Syria to join the Islamic State, which is also a terrorist group. After about 4 years, found in the refugee camp, and she was trying to fight to come back into the UK so she could gain her citizenship back, because obviously her citizenship was taken away from her. Obviously she was denied that. Her lawyer basically said at the time when she was denied to fight for her citizenship, her lawyer said it was unlawful because the UK left her stateless. They exposed her to a degree of treatment which could result in death, and also it was completely unfair because in order for her to even try and fight to gain her citizenship back, she needs to be in the UK. She's now 20, and during the past week, we've recently found out that the UK has allowed her to come back to fight for her citizenship. So my question to you guys, do you think that she should be allowed to come back into the UK? Obviously, last week, we spoke about the two twins who were being deported, and their citizenship was taken away from them. Some people are going to ask, well, what's the difference? People are going to ask, what's the difference?
She went to Syria.
She
went to Syria.
Of her own free will. She went.
Yeah.
And she wants to come back.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other kids that we talked about last week that were born in the UK and they're being deported from their home that they've ever known to different places, and this girl made the conscious decision to leave her country and go somewhere else. And you said she married she was involved with one of the terrorists.
They called her. So basically, they called her the ISIS bride, and she also was the poster child for new recruitments. And they were trying to encourage more young people, not just females, to come over to Syria and join the Islamic State.
Hell no! Sit your ass in Syria. Sit your ass there. I mean, let me not be mean. Okay, yeah, the UK is her country, and she was born here and there, and blah blah blah. But I'm sorry, if you gave up that right, you don't deserve it back. Like, you've already committed so many countless unforgivable crimes, and you want to come back and do what? How are you going to add to the country? What is your contribution to the UK? How are you going to make it better? Like, no. Yeah. Why should they give you that pass? And when people that rightfully want to be here are being deported, what makes you different? What gives you superior power? Nah, bruh. Fuck that lawyer of yours and fuck you. Stay your ass in Syria.
We give the real here. Covering up. We give the real, okay?
Listen with that bullshit. I'm sorry.
No. So she's gonna have she's coming for a court hearing. I'm assuming.
She's coming for a court hearing, yeah.
There's technology. She doesn't need to come here for a court hearing.
But apparently, in order for you to try and fight for your citizenship, she needs to be on the UK soil. Yeah, she needs to be on the soil of the UK. Like,
I don't know about that one. It just doesn't seem right. I mean, people weren't attending court because, coronavirus, so, she can always stay somewhere within the Commonwealth. She doesn't need to come to the UK. I feel like she gave up that right when she decided to leave. Who did she left? England is just too lenient. They're too lenient. Yeah. And they're lenient in the wrong way. That's the problem. Who they're supposed to be lenient with,
they're not.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Shanice said, you're not thinking of those twins that we talked about last week. Like, you weren't lenient with them. Why are we lenient for alleged terrorist?
No, there's no alleged.
Girl, just in case ISIS want to come here, let me see.
That's true. Yeah, it's alleged. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, it's alleged. We don't actually know what the shit is. Yeah, you're right.
Let me just say it. Alleged.
Yeah, it's true.
Girl.
It's true. It's
For an
true.
alleged terrorist. Like,
It's true.
what happened? She can go on somewhere else. Fuck
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I don't know, like, not that I feel sorry for her, but obviously she kept, in the interview from last year, she kept saying, well, I was 15, it's not like but babe, you boarded a plane with your friend, like, you're 15, I'm sorry, at age 15, you know right from wrong.
Right from wrong.
I don't feel like you can say, oh, I wasn't really an adult, I didn't really understand what I was getting into.
You're saying you're 15, you know right from wrong. When she started seeing people commit murder and like do all these atrocious crimes, your sense should have said, I don't need to be here. I'm 15. It's not well for my safety. So let me go back home. But you stayed.
I don't think she has any remorse. From when she spoke so emotional. Like she had no emotions. Like she was completely emotionless. And it was like when they asked her, it was like, you know, it sounded like she didn't want to be there. Like when they were interviewing her, she's just like, yeah. No.
You see me, yeah. God forbid, I would never be in that position, innit? God forbid.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're trying to get back into the country, I would have said everything that they want me to say.
What to say.
Exactly.
I would have said everything that they want me to say. Like,
bring on the waterworks.
Do you know what I mean? The waterworks would have been coming every day. I would have killed that scene. Like, I would have been
definitely.
like, no.
Welcome back to TimeZonePodcast.
It's time for That's Not It or Ooh, That's Lit. And today, I would like to give it to the rapper Stormzy. Okay. So he's a UK rapper, and I want to give it to him for his continual support of the Black community. So he's done some stuff recently, but in 2018, he said that he started a scholarship for Black students, like to go to universities like Cambridge and Oxford. Then he's also done work where he helps you to get your books published. But recently he has said that he is going to have £10 million over 10 years put into charities and communities that are for Black empowerment. So that's why I want to give it to him.
So you want to give him a ooh, that's lit? Because there's no way in hell you're giving him a that's not it.
Yeah.
Just imagine if she said, ooh, no.
No, I'm not going to do that. No, ooh, that's lit. It's lit, guys. It's lit. Ink's his face is like, if this girl ever.
So I'm thinking, where's she going with this? Like, no, that is lit. I do, Stormzy's fire. Like, I respect that. That is lit.
Yeah. That's good. Having a Black man, invest in his own community is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Especially in the UK, because I thought, quickly, I feel like in America, it's very common. You see a lot of people, you see P. Diddy, you see Jay-Z, you see them doing that. But in the UK, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't feel like our celebrities have our back over here.
Mm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? But Stormzy definitely is one of them that I can say, yeah, he goes above and beyond, not just hospital visits, he goes above and beyond. Like, he really puts his money where his mouth is, and we don't have a lot of that. So, yeah, big up Stormzy.
Yeah.
Like
so I was saying, the BBC are also matching his 10 million as well. So got another.
Is this the same BBC? Those idiots wanted to be fun. Okay. Okay. Now, tell me why will you defund them? Tell me, you idiots. See, when you talk bad about people, they prove you wrong in the right way. Like, I applaud BBC too and Stormzy. Like, that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful.
You know what? We're gonna start adding claps and we're gonna start adding boos. Once we decide what we're giving them, that's it. That's the new thing. We're gonna start adding claps. So you'll hear it. You'll hear the clap.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she gets a ooh. That's lit from me. I like that.
Welcome to this week's Sharing is Caring. And this week, ladies, I feel like we need to talk about mental health. So over the last week, there's been several stories which I'm not even sure if people will even identify it as mental health. So I would just like to highlight them and let's talk about them. I'd like to talk about Bashir Gray from Empire, obviously beating up his wife and end up in jail. I would also like to talk about Tamar Braxton trying to commit suicide or writing a suicide letter. And I also would like to talk about who shot Meg. So let's talk about Tory Lanez. Why would you do that? why would you just randomly try and like shoot someone who's supposed to be your friend? I feel like all of these stories have signs to me or indications to me of mental health. So I'd like to get your views on everything that's been happening, and how can we identify mental health early, and how can we like support someone, not judge them, and also understand that they're actually ill and they need help, not that they're just like violent.
No, I think mental health is one of those things, especially in the Black community, is we shy away from it, or we just call the person crazy, and then it's like, get over it, move on, or whatever it is. So I think it's more of a support system that we need for each other. So we're able, like sometimes someone might not be able to identify their own mental health, but I feel like there needs to be some sort of support system where that family member or friend can be able to identify that there's something not quite right here. So I think that, especially with celebrities, because it's like you expect them to get on with it, you expect them to be fine. So maybe there should be something for celebrities, some sort of mental health thing that's dedicated to celebrities and mental health. I don't know.
One thing we need to all understand is that mental health, mental illnesses, they do not discriminate. Black, white, blue, purple, yellow, everyone can get it. And we also need to dispel the myth about mental illnesses that people are crazy, you know, they can get on with it, or these people are violent or stuff like that. That's not what mental illness is. Those are the symptoms of having a mental illness. That's why they portray that craziness or whatever it may be. I feel like for people that have mental illness, there's always one person that knows who that person's character is. People need to pay attention to their friends. Like if you notice something off, even if it's like a mood swing, a change in tone, address that. They might not want to talk about it, but it's really important to invest in their health and talk about it. A lot of people that suffer from mental illness don't have a community that they can talk to. And I can almost say that in the celebrity world, it's the same thing. These people are at the height of their fame. You know, we look at them like at a different level, like, okay, you can deal with it, like Shan says, you can get over it. But what are your thoughts?
I want to touch on what you said about they're celebrities and then they're at the height of their career. I almost feel sorry for them, because I feel like they have it a lot worse than regular people, because they have money for like psychologists and therapists and so forth. But it must be so annoying to know, like, can I trust this person? I'm about to tell this person my secrets. Are they just going to sell my story? Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's probably another reason why they don't go and look for someone to help them. And then I want to touch on what Shanice said, when Shanice said, we need to have something for the celebrities, or have something for Black people
in general,
that will help support their mental health. I definitely agree with that. However, I'm just a bit worried as to how it will be set up throughout the years. And if I'm wrong, someone can comment down below and tell me that I'm wrong. I don't want to keep saying we're treated unfair, but obviously Black women in pregnancy, we have a high rate of dying, we have a high rate of not surviving, right? The same thing with mental illness. When we have mental illness, it's seen as 10 times worse, compared to our other counterparts. So I understand why almost sometimes some Black people don't want to go seek help, because instantly, instead of just giving them some help, they want to try and give them pills. Do you understand what I'm saying? They want to try and put them in a straitjacket. So they're almost scared to be like, yo, like, this is what I think my child might have, or this is what I have. And like, that's how it like gets out of control, and then it's just gone way too far.
I think I personally feel like, not even personally, generally in the counseling community, there's statistics to prove that there is dominated by white Americans, is dominated by white female Americans. We need to do in our own Black community, set up our own workshops, like you said, that's owned by a Black community. Like, we need to invest in our own mental health. We can't wait for another person of a different race to help us, because they're not going to help us the way we need to be helped. Like, we have years of trauma that has chemically changed our brain structures to deal with trauma in a different way. Like, that's not something you can care for overnight. We need to help our own selves. And I think like having those workshops that we invest in, and like, celebrities can have their own thing. And like you said, Inks, like, pills don't solve them. Pills add fuel to the fire if they're not treating the right diagnosis. You don't know what people are diagnosed, if it's depression, if it's anxiety, if it's dissociative personality disorders. You don't know until you talk to that person. Giving them a pill
you can actually get more mental illness from having the pill because it's going to raise so many other issues.
No, I'm just thinking about what you said before when you said about having therapists, like Black therapists. There's a group, I can't remember their name, which I follow on Instagram, who like they're dedicated to. I think all the therapists are Black. I'm not assuming that they take just Black people.
Yeah.
But there was a girl that commented, and she said she doesn't know what it is, but she can't talk to a Black therapist. Like, she feels once she speaks to a Black therapist, that person is judging her. She feels like almost like she's talking to her aunt or her mum because it's like an older Black woman. So I guess what I'm saying is sometimes it's not about who you can listen. It's not about it's about whoever you feel comfortable with.
That
is very true.
To talk to. So I don't know.
I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, I never really thought about. I'm glad that you challenged me on what I just said, Shanice, because after you said it, I do understand what you mean. It's almost similar to like, have you guys ever gone to like the sex clinic? Right, I don't want to really see a Black person like asking me questions. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather like a white person ask me a question because then I can just like answer them and I don't feel like they're judging me. If it's like
I feel judged by them.
Yeah, like you feel judged, right? If it's like,
they give me that look. They give me that look like.
You know what I mean? So I can definitely understand that. But my new question now is, okay, how do we draw the line? How do we make sure that if we do go to someone of a different nationality or a different race of us, are they going to understand the things that we're going through? Number one. Or are they going to just wrongly diagnose us? That's what I'm scared of as well. So it's like, how do you distinguish that?
I guess that's why people go through. Sorry, Eunice. I guess that's why people go through different therapists. Like, so they might start off with one. They're like, no, this is not the one. Or they take so long to find the right therapist.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But I feel as well with what you guys are saying, something that's just popped into my head. Obviously, this is all okay when we're older, but I feel like a lot of this, like maybe like some of the self-hate that we have and the mental issues that some of us may suffer from could have been resolved when we were younger. However, you can't really talk to a counsellor when you're younger because when you do, it's like they might take you away from your parents. You know what I mean? Like, for example, we can all say that we've been beaten, right? We might not beat our own kids when we have kids. We might choose to do a different type of method, or we might give them a little tush in their bum. I don't know, yeah. But at school, if you tell someone like, "Oh yeah, I was beaten," yeah, they're calling social services.
Social services, and your mum gonna flip. Your mum gonna flip on you.
They got beaten before, yeah. You thought you were getting beaten before.
Yeah. Yeah,
that. No, all jokes aside, my mum used to be like, "I don't business, yeah. If you want to call social services, tell them to come."
Yeah, that's what she, my mum used to threaten me like that. So then that way, I wouldn't even want to call them. They're gonna take you away. So I'm like,
yeah. Go then, go.
It's hard, especially as children, because we don't want to be like, don't talk to anybody, but also you want to talk to people because some people really might be mistreated at their home. Some people might be going through some real things. And because of that fear of taking away, like that we've instilled in them, like they're going to take you away. You just don't say anything. And then teachers are walking past and you have blue black eyes. And people are like,
I can't tell you how to raise your kids, innit? If you have to, I'll tell you how to raise your kids. But I think when it gets to the point where you actually leave a physical mark on them,
we gotta address that shit.
There's the issue, and also as well, it's just mentally as well.
Going back to what you were saying about our mental health in children, I feel like with children, like because we don't identify it early on, I feel like when we do identify it, it's not gone too far, but it's probably at its peak or approaching its peak. So I can remember having therapy in school, and that was like when it reached to the top where I was like almost in tears, like I was in tears, and it wasn't, and I didn't identify it. It was like a teacher that identified it at the time, and then she was just like, she never said, "Okay, I'm going to put you through to therapy." She was just like, "Oh, I think you need somebody to talk to." So I think maybe it's the way you approach the situation as well. I'm not just saying, okay, you need to go to therapy, because then obviously it's like a stigma that can seem, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think maybe the way she approached it for me, I didn't feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, no, don't cry, because I'll cry.
No, because I feel like no. Go on.
Oh, Inks, no!
Oh, Lord.
Sorry!
It's a fire.
Inks,
Love Jesus Christ.
now I'm going to cry.
Sorry! I'm sorry.
Y'all bitches better stop this shit.
Okay,
Oh my
stop.
God.
Oh, TimeZone podcast. Jesus.
Yeah, that was my experience.
Yeah.
But I also have a more recent experience.
Mm.
Where so I've been suffering from anxiety. So I don't have a therapist as such, but I have a therapy group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's like maybe 4 of us in there, and like we just, because it's all online at the moment, so yeah, we just talk online. And it's not, with this therapy, it was very different to the first one I had. So more, because it was like 1-to-1, so it's more about why I was feeling the way I was feeling or whatever. Whereas now it's more about, because it's anxiety and depression. So there's people in there with depression as well. So we kind of we don't talk about ourselves, which makes it a lot easier. So when you were talking about talking about styles of therapy, I feel like that's important, because a lot of people, I think it depends, innit, what you prefer. So they asked me, like, do you prefer a 1-to-1 or would you prefer a group?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, we'll try a group, because I don't really like to talk to especially a stranger over the phone.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So like with these people, I actually see them like once a week, and we talk. And it's more of a managing. It's more like what you do to manage your anxiety or your depression. And there's also, like, you know, homework essentially. When you come back, like, we're going to do this, or tell us about your week, or, you know, stuff that you're anxious about coming up to. So I think it's important to understand that it's not all about sitting down and talking about your problems and feeling like somebody's judging you, because it's not like that. That's my personal experience.
I would like to ask you a question. If there's someone who's like listening now who thinks they could be suffering from like some type of mental I don't even know, my brain's gone blank. Help me out, ladies.
Like a mental illness, or like...
Yeah, if there's anyone who feels like they could be suffering from any type of depression, anxiety, etc., how do they go about finding these type of groups?
So
or how did you go about it? Yeah, type of thing.
Because I can identify my emotions quite well. So I was a self-referral, which actually can be done online, so you don't have to actually call anyone. As long as you're registered with a doctor, you don't actually have to call anyone. Well, yeah, you don't have to call anyone. You can just fill in like a form online. And it's not like, you know, sometimes these things you think, oh, that's going to take for weeks, it's going to take months for them to get back with me. It's a couple of days. Like within like a week, I was in a therapy group.
And is this something that's paid for via the, like, is it free?
Yeah, so it's paid via the NHS. So you just fill in the form. They get back to you, and you have like an online, like a phone consultation, as well as the one that you fill in online. And then someone else calls you to just talk about why you feel like you need the therapy. Because the initial assessment is just about your current emotions within like the past few weeks. And then when you speak to this person, it's more about why, like, what your current state is. Your current emotions. And then from there, like, she said to me, like, you know, what do you want to do? Do you want to have a group class, or do you want to be 1-to-1? So it's not necessarily being diagnosed with something as such. It's more about identifying it before it reaches to that stage where you need like intense therapy,
inpatient therapy.
So
I think
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is called sharing is caring, so I really appreciate that.
Oh, why do you have to cry?
Girl, I'm so emotional. It's not even a joke. Like, yeah, like waterworks will just come like that. You won't even see it coming. But I think that's really funny what you said. You saying that you're identifying, like you can identify your emotions. that happens to me often. So recently I just found out that I literally was going through depression and I didn't realise it. So I'm the type of person, like, if I feel sad, and I know I'm feeling sad, I will do something to, like, boost my levels back up. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't want other people to know that I'm feeling sad, like, around me.
Yeah.
So I will, like, not overdo it, but I will, like, be like, no, that's it. Like, I'm out of it now. That's it. Like, I feel like I can just spark myself out of it. And that's how I've been living. It wasn't until recently a person was telling me, he was just talking to me about, like, basically, like, how he found Christ and stuff, yeah? So I was listening to him. And then he was telling me, how, like, he went through depression. And I was like, how did you know he went through depression? And he was like, he was in his room, like, all the time, didn't want to go out, didn't want to do anything, right? Cool. So, obviously, he was in his room and he was saying how he didn't want to do anything. So, obviously, I realised, like, literally through talking to him, that's what I was going through. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's like, a lot of people might see me and they're like, Inks is an extrovert, but I realised, well, I'm probably not as much of an extrovert as I thought, number one. And then also as well, I thought it was just me being lazy. But I didn't realise it's because, like,
it's really, really powerful that we're having this conversation because, like you said, Inks, like, I know I've gone through so many cycles of depression.
Hold on, I need to stop. Wait, just 2 seconds. I cannot. Crying on YouTube. It's not gonna happen. I hate that when I see girls and they've got this, like, video up and they're crying. It's like, no.
At least yours is real. It's coming real. Some of them shit, those waterworks be like, girl, what happened?
Okay, yeah, sorry, carry on.
I think, like I said, it's powerful that we're having this conversation because I know personally, like, at first I denied it, like, you know, having depression and anxiety, but it wasn't until I started, like, my course, I was just like, fuck, I'm fucked up, like I am. I went through phases, especially when I was younger, because, you know, my dad was super strict. I never had friends. That's why when you say, why am I attached to that one friend? Because that's the only person I could talk to at the time. One time, I thought about suicide several times.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on because I was just like, maybe I'm just having a mood swing or whatever. But it got to the stage just like you, like I would be in my room. Once I had blackouts several times for about like 2 years straight up. I would have blackouts. Like I would literally drop. One day I was walking with my aunt and we went into a store and I literally dropped on the floor, woke up like the next couple of minutes and I was like, what happened? Like I had a blackout. Like I had panic attacks and I just didn't know what they were. I had no idea to identify it. And I got to a point, like, I couldn't tell my mom, like, you know, these are African parents. They don't really know. They don't get it. I haven't educated them to the point where they understand it. Like, so several times I've considered hurting myself. And then it was when I met Hudson, actually, because he suffers a lot from depression. And I would see him go through these phases and it hurt me because I didn't know how to help him. Because I didn't know how to help myself.
It's episode. Oh my god.
Oh Lord.
You did not plan for this to be.
Sorry, guys.
We're sorry.
It's okay, no.
It hurt me so much because I didn't know how to help him because I didn't know how to help myself. Like I've been going through life like in a shell, thinking I knew everything and you know, I would recluse myself. Like, I would stay in the house for days and months at a time. The only thing I had going on in my life was school. And I was like, that's okay. I'm doing this. Like, you know, I'm being productive.
You justify it. You try to justify it.
I'm justifying it. I'm being productive. Like, I'm doing something. But I had no one to talk to. I had no friends. I couldn't talk to my mom. Like, I would try to pray. I would try to go to church, like, hoping this would just go away. And I started getting bad panic attacks. Like, to the point where, like, I thought I was going to die. And then when I met, like, I would see him go through it, and I'm just like, I can't be helpful to you. Like, I don't think you need me in your life because I can't help myself. And seeing how he goes through it, and we found each other. And that's why I'm, like, so attached to him because it's a love, but he also, like, helps me.
Yeah.
Like, he pushes me to try new things. He pushes me to, like, talk about shit because I don't know how to communicate, if I'm being honest. That is one of my biggest flaws. I don't communicate. I harbor all my feelings. And then one day I just shut down. Like, it's like you're talking to me, but I'm not there. Like, I've completely left my senses. So I think depression and anxiety are things that as Black in the Black community, like it's there all the time.
Yeah.
And when we see people going through things like that, the first thing we don't want to do is criticize them for their feelings. Their feelings are valid.
I'll add to it, and then that will be it for me. I just want to say as well, sometimes you can be surprised that it'll be someone in your own family member who can help you through it. My older brother Richard, big up to him, because I swear he needs to build me.
Woo! Y'all, that was a beautiful, beautiful episode. And thank you for joining in. This is the type of conversations we want to have with you guys. It can be funny, it can be emotional. We're family here. Thank you so much for joining. It's episode 8. Big ups, girls. Big up, girls. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining, and we can't wait to catch up with you next week.
Our sharing is caring this week has been emotional. So maybe next week we can be laughing. Maybe you guys can send us something in that will give us a laugh, or even if it is a dilemma, you can do that at TimeZonePodcast2020@gmail.com. That's TimeZonePodcast2020@gmail.com.
I just want to say big up to everyone who's been listening, big up to everyone who's been watching us on YouTube as well. We definitely did not plan to break down today in this episode, but you're part of the family now. You're part of the Time Zone family. We're all in different time zones. Clearly, I've known these girls for how long now, from like birth, and I didn't know that this was the things that they were experiencing, and they didn't know vice versa. So just stay in there, and if you need someone to talk to, we are here as well. Like, even if you don't want us to share it on our Sharing is Caring, you just want to tell us and get us to give you back our honest opinion and help you and stuff, we can do that too. We won't put on Sharing is Caring if you don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't forget to follow us on all of our social medias. Our handle is @TimeZonePodcast, but the podcast is spelled with a 0.
Yes, and again, episode 7 is out. That one will give you a laugh. Trust me. It'll give you a laugh.
Go back,
watch
back,
it.
watch that.
And join the conversation by using #TimeZonePodcast. We want to hear from you. Thank you so much, guys, and we appreciate you.
We out. Bye.
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 You're locked in to the Time Zone podcast.